Is bologna just a hot dog? Because everyone's thinking of bologna as like a flat sheet of paper. What if that's just a really short, really girthy hot dog? Yeah, it's not like I can just always go to the utter of creativity and squeeze myself a glass of milk, you know? I have to have like a stockpile, some dehydrated milk up in there.
If I said, I'm going to write a 15-page historical fiction story, I could probably do that on whatever deadline I set. Can you do jokes on a deadline? Do they work that way?
That's good advice. If at first you don't succeed, give up. Oh, that's what I took away from that.
I would say, if at fourth you don't succeed, there's not going to be a fifth.
Yeah.
What's your stance on hot dog versus broth?
1 in 7 hot dogs do I eat and go, damn, that's a good hot dog. Mostly it's like, yeah, that's a hot dog.
1 in 7.
Yeah, I'm keeping a tally, dude.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber. It is TCU night, Wednesday night. We are live here, 6 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday night, hanging out with our patrons and our lurkers, and now you. And as always, with me is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm excited for tonight's guest, but we have a little news first, don't we? You've been working on an item of clothing that will solve the whole world's problems with clothing.
That's right. Yeah, if anyone's ever had any sort of problem with any garment or haberdashery, I don't know. No matter what issue exists, there are a couple of t-shirts on the way, officially approved, both shirts this week.
Yeah.
And they are in production, yes, and will be coming soon. I have the product pages almost complete as well, so we'll throw some links in soon for the small amount that will be available for sale after we send them out to our guests and our beloved baby gang and infantry patrons.
That's right. I was thinking about it earlier today, and about 70% of that order is already spoken for. So we're not trying to hype up like, ooh, this is a limited supply. You really have to get on this. No, it's not like that. It's like, no, truly, there's just only so many of these. So you want to get on it quick. Like Kevin said, those links will be spread around soon. Anybody who is on the Patreon, you'll see this before anybody. You can, I don't know if people remember this or realize it, but you can follow along on Patreon even without being a patron. A lot of people, for a host of reasons, can't be or don't want to be. But you can follow along there without contributing anything except your beautiful presence, and that's completely and totally fine. It means that you'll get news like the t-shirts as fast as anybody does.
Yep, that's right. So finally, we're at the finish line with the shirts. Really excited about that, and also excited about our guest this evening.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's a small town in Wisconsin that has generated guests for the Create Unknown at a per capita rate of 1 guest per 671 residents. But more impressively, there's actually a single womb in Wisconsin that has generated quite nearly 3% of this show's guests. We are traditionalists here at the Create Unknown, so we respected the older custom of primogeniture and spoke with an older Johnson first. Sven Johnson makes surrealist, absurdist comedy that's exactly as long as it needs to be funny. And his YouTube videos are often under 30 seconds, like his very first video in 2017 titled Existential Crisis. It's a quick glimpse of a doorway marked with both entrance and not an entrance, on a pan to a severely convulsing Sven. His massive breakout came after a 19-second video called How to Be a Moth, in which he puts on a bike helmet and slams his head into a light bulb, shattering it. Needless to say, his content has nothing to do with chasing algorithms. There's nothing about moths trending in Google in 2017. And instead, it seems that He's driven by a constant maxim of just simply deciding whether something is funny. Sometimes he does this with Brother Gus, like in their series of biblical retellings, which they do push and pull on the text. Sven is also an exceedingly talented musician, and the end of his videos include a song called What Am I Supposed to Do that is flat out beautiful. That's linked in the description. You really should take a listen to that. He's also got his own line of merch called Beat Coastal that is, like his comedy, simple and striking. He's also got a weird bond with Kevin over their shared fondness of smooth-brained humor and particularly hot dog jokes on Twitter. So, Sven, the question about whether hot dogs are a sandwich, people always talk about this. We talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson about it. That actually misses the point. The real question is, why are hot dogs always funny?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, thank you for the lavish intro. I've never heard anybody talk about me so fancifully. Hot dogs are always going to be funny, mostly because of my relationship with Kevin. Honestly, I was not a big hot dog humor guy until one time. This was, I think, almost 3 years ago now. I just saw on Twitter, because one of my mutuals had liked one of Kevin's tweets. It was something like, "Did you know you will eat 43,000 hot dogs in your lifetime?" It was something dumb like that. And I was laughing out loud from it. And I saw him at VidCon like the month prior to that. And I told him about that because I really appreciated that hot dog tweet. Rarely do I laugh out loud at a single tweet. And so we had a conversation for, I want to say, about a half an hour that day. Not solely about hot dogs, but that's what really got the ball rolling, or the dog rolling, I guess, between Kevin and I. And then over the last few years, every time Kevin has a hot dog themed tweet, I'm there. I'm in those comments. I'm always going to like it. He's tagged me in hot dog jokes. So that's legitimately why I am here, probably. It's because of hot dogs.
Getting tagged in hot dog jokes. That's when you know it's serious, when it's real.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've never been tagged in one.
It's a silly food. You've never been tagged in a hot dog tweet?
No, I haven't. No, not a hot dog joke, let alone a hot dog tweet at all. No.
Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry for you. It was just such a wacky food. It's anything that you can wiggle around like that. It's going to be the center of a joke. I'm sorry you don't share my affinity for hot dogs like Kevin does, but yeah. Is a hot dog a sandwich, though, is the other question you asked? What? No. This is like the tomato is a fruit type of shit. I don't want to. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No, it's its own category. That's my response to that question. And I don't care.
Pushing back already.
The chat is what?
They're pushing back on you already. Tomato is a fruit. Hot dog is a sandwich. These are the facts of life. That's what I'm reading in episode chat.
Tomato is a fruit technically, but are you going to be? Do you want to be that guy that butts in? Actually, the tomato is a fruit. What's the technical definition? What's the operating definition of a fruit?
Doesn't it have to do with seeds?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I can't remember what that is. Is it?
So like a fruit has
that
seeds or doesn't have seeds?
It does have seeds. It has seeds inside. Like an apple has has seeds inside.
A strawberry has seeds on the outside.
Yeah.
And that's a fruit.
But I'm pretty sure like a banana is not a fruit. I think a banana is a berry. I don't know.
Why?
I think it comes back to the seed problem.
Are you telling me?
We're going to have to Google this.
But the seed is inside the banana. It's inside the peel and it's inside the banana. You get that little seed anus at the bottom, which, by the way, are you guys top or bottom banana peelers? Like, do you peel by the stem?
Yes.
Stem, I should say.
Yeah. You go top down on a banana. How is that even a question?
That's what I said. But then I started hanging out with all these people from Minnesota when I got to college on my volleyball team, and they're all opening the hot dog, the banana from the anus side. I got hot dogs on the brain.
Yeah, that's the better question. How do you
skin an animal from?
How do you peel your hot dog?
Yeah. That's good.
I think that if anybody has like a first date scheduled in the next few weeks, you should open that date with like a clinical question about how that date peels their hot dog.
How do you peel your hot dog? But no, they were saying, my friends make the case, which maybe they're just doing it so they can be that guy. But they said that that's how monkeys open them, and because it's easier to do it from the bottom side. And here's the thing: is I opened a banana, the butt side first, and it was easier. But I'm not going to do that. I refuse to be that guy. And also another advantage is if you open it from the butt side first, that's easier. Another advantage is you get the seed out of the way right away. So I don't know. That's what they were trying to tell me, but I refuse.
Look, I Googled this quickly. Fruits contain seeds. So I was right about that, while vegetables consist of roots, stems, and leaves. So there you go.
So like a cucumber is a fruit then?
A fruit develops from the flower of a plant.
Oh.
So fruits contain seeds. That's the definition that you found?
Yeah.
And a vegetable doesn't.
Vegetables are like roots, stems, and leaves.
Well, let's not jump to that conclusion yet. Let's say a vegetable doesn't contain seeds. So what you're telling me is a hot dog is a vegetable.
Oh.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
That
here.
seems logical. Yeah.
I wanna go back quickly because I think it's important that we hyperanalyze the humor behind a hot dog and just qualify like a few characteristics I think of hot dogs that make them consistently funny. One is clearly the shape. It's phallically shaped,
Obviously.
you could say, which brings with it its own sort of like, toolkit of humor right there. It's also there's a hint of mystery about what a hot dog is. It's not clear what parts of what animal are being like turned into a hot dog. You hear rumors.
Isn't it every part?
Well, there are some kind of urban legends about anuses being involved and that sort of thing. Snouts
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like the parts perhaps of an animal that you otherwise wouldn't really want to consume, perhaps.
I hear bones too. Like they just grind everything up and put it in there.
Bones?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Maybe. Oh wait, that was that book by that muckraker in the early 1900s. Maybe I'm thinking of. Remember that guy who told about the meat industry?
Upton Sinclair.
Yeah,
and
the jungle.
The jungle.
Yeah. But honestly, hot dogs, yeah, they're funny, obviously, and who knows what's in them? They're an icky meat. They're in the icky meat category. But want to know what's another?
That's the best part.
What's that?
Isn't it? That's the best part. It is a melting pot of meats in the same way that the United States is a melting pot.
It's the New York City of lunch.
The New York City of No, here, let me talk about icky meats now that I'm thinking of it though. Is hot dogs an icky meat because it's got all these scraps in it. You ever look at salami? Salami and pepperoni weird, is the same shit. They're just not trying as hard to hide the fact that it's a bunch of scraps put together. That's literally the scrap meat from like the floor of the meat factories. Whatever meat they're cooking up that day, they squeegee all the scraps on the floor and they grind it into one thing. It's just less pureed. You can see the chunks of shit in there.
When the bank takes my house, they're going to ask me what happened to my life, and I'll say, well, Hormel sued me into oblivion because of a podcast that we released.
Yeah, I'm going to write the jungle too.
Electric Boogaloo.
Welcome
I'd like
to the jungle.
I'd also like to throw out the fact that the name is very funny. Hot dog. It is a hilarious name. It's very strange. I don't know. I of all people should know the etymology of the hot dog naming, but I don't.
You should.
Why is it
where's dog involved?
I don't know. What does that have to do with dogs?
It's not shaped like a dog at all. One could maybe say wiener dogs, like they looked at wiener dogs and said, "Oh, hot dog." But aren't wiener dogs named after hot dogs? Is this like a chicken and the egg type situation here? What's the deal with hot dogs?
Yeah, and
it's tough though to figure out what constitutes a hot dog. Like, when does a hot dog stop being a hot dog and become a different type of sausage or brat, or like where's the line?
Or
That's a good question, because
the thickness.
Wait, go ahead.
I feel like it's less of a line and more of like a girth issue. Yeah, like the The thicker it gets, the further it drifts from being a hot dog into sausage land.
So then, let's see. Is bologna? I was just going to say, because bologna, going off of Matt's point, bologna is essentially just a rolled out hot dog. It's the same type of meat. It looks the same. Is bologna just a hot dog? Because everyone's thinking of bologna as like a flat sheet of paper. What if you turn that like perpendicular to the table? You thinking? What if that's just a really short, really girthy hot dog?
I mean, the roll that it comes from, like if you see at the deli, you see them slice the full-size bologna. It's like giant. It looks like it came off a pontoon boat, and then they can slice it from there.
That's how they used to ship the hot dogs in pioneer days. They'd send them down the river on hot dog pontoons. No, I remember we always used to be able to go to the Metrodome in Minnesota and watch the Twins play. Yeah. And they would have on Mondays, they would have $1 foot-long dogs. And you get a foot-long hot dog for $1 at a baseball park? Who does that? Who does that? That was crazy. And then that
there
place
used to be
collapsed.
a 99-cent footlongs place in the middle of the Las Vegas Strip, and I hit that ridiculously hard constantly over and over. It was my go-to lunch every time I was there. And now it's like $2.49 for a footlong, which is okay. I'll pay that. Like, I understand the world changes
Inflation,
and moves faster than I'd like it to. But still, like $2.50 for a footlong. What is that? 20? How much is that per inch of dog?
12 divided by 250. I think that's $4
like
per inch.
20.8-ish cents per inch. That's pretty good.
That's not bad. I'm surprised you're getting I suppose it's Vegas. I was going to say a foot-long hot dog nowadays seems like should be at least in the $5 range.
Look, I'm on hot.
What's the most you'd pay for a footlong?
Hold on. I'm on hot-dorg. I'm on hot-dog.org.
Hot dorg.
I'm on hotdorg.com and I'm reading about the history of hot dogs. And it sounds like that the chicken did come before the egg. It is after the dog. It's after dachshunds. Like the German dog dachshund. Huh. Yeah. I guess they had those. They named these little sausages after the dachshund, so they'd call them like little dog sausages. And supposedly going back to ballparks at the New York Polo Grounds in 1901 on a cold day. This sounds like a made up story. The vendors walking around would say, they're hot, they're red, get your red hot dachshund sausages, get your get your hot dogs, because they couldn't spell dachshund. So they would just call them dogs. Get your hot dogs. And there you go.
That's awkward to say. Nobody wants to scream dachshund.
Yeah.
Get your dachshunds. Huh. No. So
wow. Kevin's Johnny on the spot with the hot dog lore. Jesus.
It would be.
Also, that's the first time anyone's ever said that sentence.
It'd be horrible to leave this podcast without that knowledge.
I'm glad that we have devoted this much time to hot dogs and hot dog talk, because this has been a big part of our relationship. This is why I'm here. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah. I was going to say something about the Metrodome. Oh yeah, the Metrodome. Were you guys baseball people at all?
Yes.
Did you baseball fans growing up? Did you ever go to a baseball game at a baseball stadium?
Yes, many times.
I've been to one. I have been to Fenway Park, and that's the only professional baseball stadium I've been to.
So speaking of baseball and speaking of wieners, is this a commonality, or was this just at the Metrodome? The men's bathroom was just a trough. Like you go in and the urinal system is a trough. Why did they do that? Was that at your baseball park? Because I know my friend Eddie was talking that this was at, I think, Wrigley Field, because he's from Chicago. It was just a trough in the bathroom. Why is that the baseball thing?
The stadium that is nearest, it's a small one. It's a baseball stadium, but it's probably seats 6,000. That had a trough. Kevin, did you ever go in there as a kid? Did you ever go to the Doubleday piss troughs?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been in a lot of bathrooms that have troughs. I've been in bars that have troughs that are just full of ice. There's bars in Nashville. I think it's just like the older the bathroom is, like they hadn't invented urinals yet. I mean, think of the construction of a trough is much simpler. It's basically just a long bucket that you need to mount to a wall, and you put a little hole in a drain in the bottom of it, and you're all set.
You just have to have it sloped.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait. Were you saying they had ice in the trough at the bars you're talking about?
Yeah. Have you ever seen a urinal or a trough with ice in it that you pee on the ice?
Filled with ice.
No. Why?
Okay, now I'm gonna have to Google this. I don't know. This is like another thing. Matt and I are much older, so we've just been in more bathrooms than you have yet in your life.
We've been, and older ones too. So like the Carrier Dome in Syracuse had piss troughs, and I don't think they do anymore. I don't remember. It's been a few years since I've been there, but like in the 80s and 90s, they did. And I think those troughs have largely been, updated as buildings get updated. And so, yeah, we got the tail end of what's an increasingly bygone era.
So you guys were around at for the urinal boom, is what you're saying? Right, as they invented urinals.
Yes, the great urinal. Oh, I have the ice answer already.
Grandchildren bouncing on our knee.
I've got the science behind peeing on ice cubes. So it turns out at some point, if anybody has worked in a bar, you know that you deal in a lot of ice. And apparently at some point, some bartender, you have to get rid of the ice. Some bartender dumped the old ice into a urinal, and it turned out that it didn't smell so bad in the bathroom. So apparently the ice freezes the odor-causing molecules in urine. So if you pee on ice, it doesn't smell so bad.
Interesting.
Well, that makes sense because everything hot does smell worse. Like cold garbage doesn't really smell. Hot garbage smells like hot garbage.
That's holy shit. Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
I think we just made a breakthrough here.
Cold dogs, hot dogs.
Cold, yes. I've never smelled a cold dog. Wow. Holy shit.
Just smells like bologna.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is worlds colliding right now. This is like the end of a Seinfeld episode. Speaking of hot garbage, that's the worst smell. Did you guys ever work in food service?
Sure.
Yeah.
I haven't counted it though, yeah.
The dumpster behind the pizza place where I worked. Oh my God. In the summer sun, it would just boil juices back there. And did you guys work at, I don't know, did you have a grease trough? Speaking of troughs.
Yes.
Or a grease receptacle? That was my worst nightmare when I was in high school working at the pizza place. You go back there and the sheer weight of the grease is sinking this dumpster into the blacktop, and it's just boiling back there, and you got flies getting sucked into this vat. That was my nightmare, taking the trash out when I worked in food service.
If anybody hasn't smelled a grease trap before, you have not lived. I think that's one of those things. You know, in the movies when they wave the smelling salts over somebody's nostrils in order to wake up someone who's fainted, you might as well just put like a grease trap in a jar and just wave that in front of their face. That'll wake you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, compare it to something. What's it smell like for somebody who hasn't smelled a grease trap? How do you describe this to them?
So you know how you're not supposed to pour bacon grease down the drain. God, I'm trying to think of like the closest parallel that I can draw. Imagine if you did that for 4 years and then you had to go clean it out because it got all congealed down there. Okay, I guess I'm just drawing the parallel to more grease though. How do you describe that smell, Kevin?
Rancid fat is unique. Yeah, it really is its own thing, isn't it?
I was gonna say, I don't know what to compare it to because it's not like. Okay, so are we going to just run down some terrible smells? Like how about like a rotting carcass? That smells really bad, okay? It does not smell anything like that. Yeah. Or your hot garbage. It does not smell anything like hot garbage. It is its own unique vomit. Vomit smells really gross. It does not smell like that. It's definitely in its own category. Like you say, hot dogs are not a sandwich. Grease trap smell is not a sandwich.
Grease trap smell is not a sandwich, nor is it a fruit. It doesn't have seeds.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
That's right.
On the topic of grease traps.
I don't know.
I don't know what happened.
Well, are you still working at pizza places? What do you do when you're not being funny on YouTube and Twitter?
No. When I'm not being funny, I mean, like Matt said, I'm trying to work more on music. It's very hard. I find to be like motivated myself, unless I have like somebody telling me, you got to get this done by this date, you know? And that's what's really hard about like doing music for me, because I've got probably about 10 ideas for songs that I want to make into an album. And across those 10 ideas, they're all collectively 30% finished. So I'm trying to make music in my free time, trying to have more discipline there. In the summers, I used to mow lawns still, not because like I needed it monetarily, but I just like I kind of like doing manual labor like that, you know?
Yes.
And I would help my grandpa, because I would go back to my hometown up until like last summer and help my grandpa with like chores and stuff that he can't do because he's 6'7" and you know he's 70 years old, so he doesn't quite have a back anymore. So I was his knees and his back. I like doing shit like that, and I find myself like in the pandemic just being in this room for like days at a time, and I just kind of went crazy. So I don't know. I'm happy that I can go back to the gym now and start working out, but in my free time, yeah, I don't know. I need somebody to tell me what to do. I have a hard time being disciplined myself. I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it really helps. Even if somebody's not telling you what to do, just talking to somebody about what you're doing really seems to help settle it and organize it in your head and make it a little easier to execute. Mm-hmm. But is it the same for you do you have that same kind of difficulty with music? Do you have that with comedy stuff as well? Like, do you struggle with making a funny video the same way you do progressing on a song?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when my video ideas will come like once a month. I'll have like a week a month where just for some reason shit's like coming to me. I'm thinking of ideas and then I write them all down. I end up using ultimately about 10% of them just because, I don't know, sometimes I second guess myself out of ideas, but I can't just most times I can't just think of an idea. Okay, well, what's this week's idea? I have to rely on my drafts. I've got a drafts note in my phone and I just search through there and I'm like, okay, what can I make into a video now? And that was another thing that was hard about the pandemic, is because I wasn't able to work with other people. And I had to think, okay, what can I do myself? You know, videos where I can be the only character, where I can play multiple characters. So that was a big challenge. But yeah, it's not like I can just always go to the udder of creativity and squeeze myself a glass of milk. You know, I have to have a stockpile from a buying club, some dehydrated milk up in there. But music is kind of the same way, honestly. Music for me is a little bit more, I don't know what the word is. It comes to me more than video ideas and comedy shit does. I don't know, the last couple of years since I've been to college, I've been a nap taker. I can't do caffeine. When I consume caffeine, I feel like I dissociate and I get kind of tired and shit for some reason. So I just stop drinking caffeine, but I take a nap every day. And I found, I'm sounding like a nut right now. I'm going on a tangent, but there's this couch that my brother had in college and he handed it down to me once I went to college. And he wore down the arm bar on one of the sides of the couch. So it was the cushion was flat. And it was basically just my head leaning up against the wooden armrest. And I would take naps on this couch. I'm going to sound like a lunatic here. I'd take naps on this couch, and I figured out that when I would position my head, the back of my head on that wooden bar type thing, I would just have crazy dreams. And I would have songs and music and sometimes video ideas come to me in my dreams. I don't know if it's to do with this couch. I don't know if this is just some placebo shit. But that legitimately, I have had a dozen probably creative ideas come from like laying on that couch. I don't know. I don't know the science behind any of that. If there's like some sort of like spinal pressure that's been putting on the back of my brain from leaning up against that wooden armrest, I don't know. But I legitimately, and this is, I'm just going to keep going down this rabbit hole. I predicted my biggest medical, I don't know what you want to call it, altercation, taking a nap on that couch. And this is like, it was so significant. I had mono the summer after my freshman year. And it was spring of that freshman year. I was taking a nap on that couch. And my roommate's name was Kevin at the time. And in my nap, I had like a very, it seemed very important. It was an out-of-body experience. And I came like floated up above my body. And I was looking down at myself taking a nap on the couch. And I like looked into my mouth. I opened my mouth on the couch and I saw like a bunch of white shit growing in the back of my throat. And I was like, that's disgusting. What the fuck? I was like, I woke up from the nap and I told my roommate Kevin about it. And I was like, because it seems so important. And then like a month later, I got mononucleosis and I was looking in the mirror and I saw that white shit in the back of my throat. And it's tonsil stones. You ever had tonsil stones?
Tonsil stones?
Yes.
No.
It's nasty. It's like
I have not heard of tonsil stones.
They're pretty common. You've probably had them and just never noticed them. But I had them bad for like 2 years. It's just like white little bacteria and shit that will grow in your tonsils, and you got to pop them out with like a Q-tip and stuff. And I had mono for like that entire summer. And like even still sometimes I get tonsil stones. Like it was bad. I had to consider getting my tonsils removed because it was just this incessant plague of tonsil stones in the back of my throat. And this is like I say, you know, I sound crazy, but it wasn't something that retroactively I went, oh yeah, I dreamed about that. I woke up and I told my roommate Kevin like about that entire dream. And I don't know if you guys can go off of Kevin's word. He can't come here and vouch for me, but I
don't trust anybody with that name.
Yeah, exactly. Too focused on hot dogs. But anyway, that's a whole tangent on my couch and my creativity.
My first question is about the logistics of this couch. How do you wear down the arm of a couch? I don't think I've ever witnessed that
so
before.
Gus, no, my older brother Gus preferred sleeping on a couch in college. Like he could have bought a bed, but he got this really nice couch. And so he would sleep on that every night. And just like from sleeping on it, it's like if you were to wear down a pillow, you know, if you use a pillow for a long time, it gets all kind of like indented and shit. He wore down the arm bar where his head used to be. And so the cushion was basically not there. And it was just like
what are you doing with your head? Like, what are you doing with your head to get the enough friction to like remove the covering on upholstery, the upholstery covering? That's brutal.
He listened to a lot of death metal in his sleep, is what I was told. Just constantly headbanging. No, I don't know. He slept on it for like a year or two, and then he just handed it down to me because that's what you do when you have an older brother who was in college. You get their hand-me-downs and shit. So,
well,
I don't know. I still have that couch in my living room.
I'm interested in the next part of this couch dream thing is actually part of your creative process here. So I don't know anything about like putting pressure on a specific portion of like your neck to create dreams, but would you wake up after sleeping and remember the dream and write it down, or would you dream up the ideas before falling asleep, which I think is called hypnagogia, if I'm remembering that correctly?
I do. There's the before falling asleep thing. That's where the music stuff comes to me. I didn't know if there's a name for that, because I find, especially for me, I used to be a drummer, so it's mostly rhythmic shit that comes to me. But like as I'm falling asleep, since I've gotten good at taking naps in the last couple of years, I do this where I sit with my phone ready and I just like start to take a nap, and about 1 in every 15 times I'll have like a good melody come to me, and it's like often very rhythmic. And I'll just like wake up and I'll just kind of go, and then I'll make songs off of that later. Sometimes I get like songs come to me in my dreams. That's not as common as the entrance into my dream that I found. I didn't know that there was a term for that. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up because I was speaking with my siblings once about this and literally being like, hey, does anybody else like hear voices in their head when they're trying to fall asleep? And they're like, no. Oh my God, you're crazy. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fun. I'm glad I admitted that. Now everyone thinks I'm insane. So in my quest of proving that I'm not actually crazy, I looked into it, and it is a thing called hypnagogia. And essentially it is, I looked it up so I can read the definitions. Hypnagogia is the transitional state of consciousness between wakefulness and sleep. And you can have hallucinations. They're called hypnagogic hallucinations, during that period. So it's like what happens, at least from my experience, is you're not sleeping yet, but you're no longer in control of your consciousness. It's just kind of doing its thing the way that it does when you are having a dream. So like this is how I would describe it for people, again, to not sound like a crazy person. Do you have dreams? Yes, you do. Are you controlling those? Rarely, unless you're lucid dreaming. Most of the time, the dream is just your brain doing wacky stuff. And then the next morning, you're like, hey, I just got drunk with my old landlord on a roller coaster. That was crazy. Right? So everybody is familiar with dreams. This is basically having dreams while you're still awake. And you can kind of watch them and listen to them without being asleep. That's how I would describe it.
I've had the voices is not as common as like music and rhythms and stuff in my head, but I've never had hallucinations like you say. That sounds interesting. Like visual hallucinations, at least. Maybe, I guess technically the auditory hallucinations, but yeah, it's interesting that you have that same thing, because I don't know. I've brought this up to my roommates too, and they're like, that doesn't happen, you know? But I swear it was real.
And that's what I'm wondering. As you two are going back and forth about how this works and how it happens to both of you, I'm thinking, how common do you think this is?
I don't know. Honestly, Kevin, I've never like talked to anybody else about like hearing stuff as you're falling into sleep. I don't know.
I don't know either. I've never spoken with anybody or heard of anybody else talk about it. But I got to imagine that like a decent portion of like hyper creative people have that. Like, I got to imagine David Lynch is doing this. I mean, David Lynch's whole big thing is transcendental meditation. And I don't know exactly what transcendental meditation is, but I got to, if I was just to guess, I would guess that it has something along the lines of like purposefully inducing a mental state like we're describing. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Damn, it's called hypnagogia.
The chat is saying they're into it. Yeah, the people in the chat, Chinchilla Maria, other people are saying that this happens to them. Not regularly, but it's happened. So this must be more common than anybody realizes, and they just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's not often that I get like a good song out of it, honestly. Like a lot of times it's just like rhythms and stuff that I hear. But every once in a while, like I force myself to wake up. I try to stay like alert enough to where I can like, you know, pop up and record stuff, because I've like made songs that I've had in those states of mind or whatever. But yeah, I'd like to look more into that. I wonder what the science is behind that.
I'm pretty sure that Mitch Hedberg had a really good joke about his joke writing process that was something similar to like to this, where he would write things down on like cocktail napkins next to his hotel bed. And I don't remember the joke that kind of illustrated this, but it was something, I'm pretty sure it was Mitch Hedberg. You know, he like wakes up the next day and he's trying to figure out why like monkey hamburger was so funny to him the night before.
Yeah.
That's
how it is sometimes too. Yeah, I get like tweets and video ideas sometimes too, but not as I'm falling asleep. Those are usually like in dreams, but that's rare. I don't want to sound like whoa, this stuff just comes to me. It's like every once in a while I'll have like a dream where I have like a cool video idea or something like that. But what I was going to say, I bookmarked something in my brain. Speaking of all the dream stuff and like the wacky discombobulation of, you know, the flow of events and dreams, I want to plug a video Joel Haver made about dreams, and he just nailed it. He just nailed the vibe of dreams. It's called, let me look it up. If you just type in Joel Haver dreams, you'll find it. It's called Me Sleeping My Brain. Check this out. Made it a week ago. Watch that video. I just watched that and I felt like I was in a dream. It's so cool. I don't know. I love dreams. Dream shit's weird.
It's the funniest thing because whenever people start to tell you about their dreams, it's the most boring thing in the world. That's like a cliche that no one wants to listen to somebody else's dream. I did want to ask you though, when you were talking about your process earlier, I also could relate a bit to what you were saying in terms of feeling like you'll have a flood of ideas kind of out of the blue and then a dry spell. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work this way on Vsauce stuff because the process there is completely different. But the process with my Twitter, like writing, the hot dog jokes sort of thing, is completely like that. I'll have a stretch of like 4 days, 5 days where I'm just like coming up with like stupid thing after stupid thing after stupid thing, all of which I think are very, very funny to me, which is this, I'm the bar that I have to clear in order to tweet something. But then, a solid week of just kind of like, I feel like my brain is empty. There's just tumbleweeds going through my brain. I have no ideas at all. It's very weird.
Yeah, I do the same thing for tweets too, where I have a Twitter drafts note app like on my phone. So like I have probably about 40 drafts right now that I haven't tweeted. And a lot of those things kind of fall by the wayside, similar to like my video ideas. But yeah, sometimes I just like don't know how to say funny shit online for like a week. And I just have to rely on stuff that I kind of banked up earlier. I wish it was just like something I could always crank out.
Yeah, this is kind of a thing across like all, not just creative. I think of mathematician Paul Erdős. He was a Hungarian guy, and he was super weird. He was pretty modern. I mean, he didn't die that long ago. I want to say it was like 20 years ago. But he was very eccentric in that he would just show up at people's houses when he knew them and just expect to be able to stay for weeks. But he was famous for knocking on doors, and like when his friends would open them, say things like, "My brain is open, let's do math." And he would cycle between these periods of having all sorts of things going on that clogged up his kind of mathematical thinking. And then he would get this smooth brain zen where it seemed perfectly natural for him to just show up with somebody and expect to collaborate on a math paper.
That's
so that inconsistent flow is what I'm getting to. That seems to be a thing of like all people who do writing and thinking and philosophy and YouTube videos and TikTok and like every type of thinking and art.
That's so cool. That's like in like the math world, like you say, too, that exists. And it's not just like a bunch of dweebs online making videos where they have that issue. It's like these world-renowned geniuses have that same problem. I was thinking about Albert Einstein today. Didn't he do like a similar type of thing where he would just like work in spells? He would just like sit around for a long time and then like all of a sudden do a bunch of shit? Or am I just completely oversimplifying what Albert Einstein did? Just sit around and do a bunch of shit?
More or less. I'm not sure. Matt, do you know much about Einstein's process?
Yeah, those rushes. I don't know a ton about Einstein's process on that, but it's common for like the hyper talented people to have these manic rushes of productivity. And I can't remember which book it was, but I feel like James Joyce wrote one of his more famous books, something like Ulysses. I wrote it like very nearly in one sitting, in the sense that he like worked, slept, and in like 6 days had this long epic book. That I think it just comes together, whether it's a plot and a project that just settles in your head, or you guys somehow crunch stupid tweets or funny videos or songs in this like weird little in between purgatory of sleep and wakeness. It all seems kind of related and natural to me.
Yeah, you're making me sound like I'm doing something a lot more important than what I'm actually doing. But that, yeah, I mean, I wonder about that. Speaking of like geniuses and sleeping, didn't Einstein also do this? Didn't he have that weird sleep cycle where he would sleep like 2 hours on, or he'd like sleep for 2 hours and then be awake for 2 hours?
Well, there was the Seinfeld episode on that where Kramer was trying that. If anybody remembers that, Kramer was trying. I don't think it was Einstein that he was modeling that after. I think it might have been Da Vinci, if I'm remembering it right. But yeah, it was some like famous thinker that supposedly would be awake for like 3 hours, sleep for, I don't remember exactly what the breakdown was, but it was never like sleep for an 8-hour chunk and then be awake for a long chunk. But then, obviously the whole joke in Seinfeld is Kramer starts falling asleep in inopportune moments.
Yeah, I think I remember. I'd have to see that. I've seen most of those old Seinfeld episodes, but yeah, I wonder what a weird sleep schedule like that does to your brain, because like I usually have a good sleep schedule, but the last few days I've been sleeping like through the night. I'll wake up a couple hours and just go back to bed, and then I can't, like, I'll wake up and I can't physically go back to bed, and then I don't know, my sleep schedule has been kind of fucked up lately. I guess I'm saying I'm Albert Einstein, so.
Have you thought, when you're talking about your inability to kind of force yourself to create things unless there's a deadline, have you considered creating an artificial one? And I don't just mean like putting a date on your Google Calendar, but like publicly saying, hey, expect an album release on September 4th or something like that. And now all of a sudden you have this deadline that 1,000 people are waiting for.
That's a good idea. And it's something that I want to try, but I'm equally terrified of, because sometimes when it comes right down to the wire, I am a total procrastinator, by the way. Like, I'll wait for assignments. I'll wait to start assignments until it's like the day or 2 days before they're due. Because, I'm still in college, by the way. So that's how I work best. But every once in a while, your brain just shits the bed at the last second, and you're just having a bad brain day and you can't get it done. And so I'm scared. I'm scared of creating a deadline like that, because I really need to be in like the optimal brain zone, I guess, to be able to get something done real quick last second. But that's kind of how I've been doing YouTube the last few months, because I'll do brand deals. And, like the brand will say, okay, this is our ad slot for January. You have to have this up by the end of January. And so that kind of helps me with like certain projects to like get them done. All right, I have to have like a longer form video that I can put this ad on by the end of January. And that's very stressful at times, but it's something that I need to get better at and more comfortable with. So I'm trying to do that more this summer. I'm sure you feel that too with like Vsauce stuff.
Yo, Kevin, no, talk about that. And then I've got a question after you're done.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would say almost with Vsauce stuff, the videos take so long that I almost have the opposite problem, where it's not like it's not like I need somebody to tell me to put a thing out. I just feel like there's never enough time to make the videos as good as they could be. And almost at some point you just have to say, it's time to move on. It's time to shoot this thing. I know it's going to take X amount of days to edit and go back and forth and figure all of that out. But the way that the Vsauce 2 videos work is there's just so much thinking that goes into them.
Yeah,
like every step of the way, it's like the visualization and like, what's the title and the thumbnail going to be? And what's the takeaway? And is this compelling throughout? What can I do physically? What can be shown, with graphics? Blah, 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 blah. It's boring kind of to talk about how that sausage is made, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's such a complex process that I wish there was just more time. And it's not even an instance where it's like, oh, just hire like 12 more people. And it's like, Yeah.
You kind of want to take
It's not-
creative control of your own project sometimes, though.
Yeah, it's not really like that. Like I saw this fascinating video on Cyberpunk 2066 about that being such a disaster. I saw this fascinating video by a coder, and this coder was talking about how if you're making this gigantic video game and the game has coding problems, you cannot just throw money and people at the problem, because kind of like the more people you involve in trying to fix the code, the less efficient it is. Like you need, like what you just need is more time. Like the however many people who know the code and work on the code just need the time to like, I don't know anything about coding. So if anyone's listening and knows about coding, I'm sure that they're like, yes, he is right. But you can't just like bring people in off the street and all of a sudden you have 200 people working on this code and now the game is done. And I kind of feel that way about Vsauce 2, and I'm sure a lot of YouTubers feel that way, where it's like, I can't just bring in 12 more people to get the video done faster. It's not how that works.
Is it because it's your own kind of creation and you want to do it like your way, or is it just...
I think you have to be familiar enough with like the content, the problems, and the solutions to be able to parse what to do next. I don't know. Like, Matt, what do you think about that?
About which aspect of it? Because there's so much that is swimming around in my head on this topic.
Well, about sometimes things just have to take a certain amount of time, and you can't just, hire 100 more people to make the thing go faster.
Right. No, that's definitely the case, and especially when there's like a one-person aspect to a project. So, for example, generally one person has to edit a video. You can't just be like, oh, I'll get 9 editors for this 12-minute video and it will take 1/9 as much time. It doesn't work that way because of that part of the process. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I forget the name of the principle. It's some business phrase thing about work expanding or contracting based on the amount of time you have to do it. Today was a really good example of this. I got started later today than I normally do. And I had a bunch of things to do. Kevin, you were putting a video out today, which is now out. A bunch of other stuff. And even though I had fewer hours than I normally do, like I compressed the work into that time slot. And well, could I do that with deadlines? Yeah. We've done it on Vsauce too, where I forget what the circumstances were. In 2019, something popped at the end of the year. And you remember when you had to do like 3 videos in 4 days? You remember that?
Yeah, it was crazy. But the ultimate example is the pasta chair video. We did an entire podcast talking about that. Going literally to Rome with like Hungarian strangers to build a chair out of noodles.
Yeah. That sounds funny.
Yeah. And that was literally a case of you have by 5 p.m. today to come up with an idea. So we didn't even have the idea. It is tough to execute on a tough time frame, but to conceive of something, then plan it and execute it is a different thing. And that's really the question I wanted to ask here is one of the most common things that I see people give advice on is with creatives is like, talk about the thing you're doing, post about it so that you create this accountability for yourself in public. And that will force you to get the thing done so that you're like not ashamed of just not doing it. I think that's easier with certain things than others. So like my main interest is in history. If I said I'm going to write a 15-page historical fiction story, like I could probably do that on whatever deadline I set because it's something you can do on a deadline. Can you do jokes on a deadline? Can you do songs on that same kind of public accountability deadline? Like, do they work that way?
That's what I'm scared of. Videos, I consider videos like jokes. When I first started, I said, I'm going to do weekly videos, and that fell apart pretty quickly because I was in high school, and other shit came up. But music would be harder, I think, to do on a deadline, because for music, like when I make a song, at least I listen to the song at least 1,000 times. And that's not just like during the creative process. Like I will just like have it on repeat sometimes when I drive in the car. I'm just trying to, it's not even like after 100 times listening to the song, it's probably counterproductive because I just go numb to shit. But I'm always trying to like think like, what can I do better about this? And I just kind of work myself into a flurry of like, oh God, this isn't good enough. So music, I think, would be really hard for me to do on a deadline if I were to do it myself. But this is where like having the other person or having somebody to hold me accountable would come in. Like if I had somebody who I could work with on music products, like specifically an audio mixer. I don't know how to mix audio. I'm pretty good at like the production aspect of music, but just like mixing and like, you know, knowing levels and shit, that's not anything that I've ever been good at. So if I had somebody to like kind of collaborate with musically, I think I could reach deadlines much easier. So then I wonder now if I had somebody that I would collaborate with on like a video, if I could, you know, follow the same schedule. I don't know. This is something I've never really tried other than obviously when I do brand deals. So
Kevin, you've had several different iterations of like process on the same type of content. So this is interesting. You've done it several different ways. You've been 100% independent where you've done everything. You have done it the office in, you know, the city with a studio and tremendous resources and people all around you. You've done it that way. You've done an in-between where, you know, like now you work with me, you work with an editor, kind of a middle ground of that. Which is best for putting out good stuff?
Well, I think that if you have the energy for it, doing it all yourself is pretty great. But that is how people get burned out. But yeah. I do believe that if you look over the years, specifically on YouTube, because it's hard for me to know, nobody does anything by themselves almost in any other entertainment industry. I guess stand-up. But even with stand-up, you're not really doing stand-up by yourself because you're constantly working out your material in front of a crowd of strangers who are giving you feedback. So, I mean, it is kind of yourself, but it's not completely. It's not at all siloed the way that making a YouTube video is, where it's like no one's going to know about this thing until everybody knows about the thing. You know, that's a really weird thing. So I don't know. I think probably the best YouTube videos for the most part have been created by people by themselves with a crazy amount of energy and like burning passion for them. And they pour everything into it. And, you know, like Internet Historian, I know I bring up him a lot, but, you know, his videos take forever. Or even like Michael from Vsauce, like his videos take forever. And aside from getting, you know, I know Internet Historian gets help on stuff here and there. You know, Michael gets help on stuff with like graphics and things. And that's important, but it is like a singular vision. One thing I did want to say, bringing it back earlier to like, how do you be funny on a deadline is I'll just tell you what happened at Late Night with Conan O'Brien, because that was a show that had to be funny on a deadline 4 nights a week. Yeah. You know, they had a show, they were putting it on at like, I think that they recorded at 5:30. It's either 4:30 or 5:30. I don't remember now. It must have been 4:30. But every you know, Monday through Thursday, they record a new show at 4 o'clock or 4:30, whatever it was. And it had to be funny. And they had to have a monologue, and it had to have the skit before the first interview, before the first, you know, segment with the guest. They did a skit every single time. And here's how they did it. They had like 26 writers on staff.
Yeah.
They had like 24 people who all they did all day was think of funny stuff. And they did kind of divvy up responsibility. Like monologue guys were monologue guys. There were like 3 dudes. I can't remember their names off the top of my head right now. that's all they did was write monologue jokes, because that's a really specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like writing tweets. You know, you have like the setup, the punchline,
Be quick.
and you move on to the next one. The way they did that is they would have, it was either 2 or 3 guys, and they each would write like 2 pages of monologue jokes every day.
That's crazy.
And, Mike Sweeney, I think, was the head writer, would go through them with Conan, and they'd choose which ones they would rehearse. And then they would choose, depending on which they felt were the funniest that they rehearsed, that would go into the show.
Yeah.
Sometimes the ones that they rehearsed were way funnier than the ones that they went into the show. And I'd be really confused as to why. But maybe I just have an idiot sense of humor. But sometimes I'd laugh at stuff that is like hilarious that they would cut from the show. And I'm like, come on, that was a great joke. But the skit writers, they would maybe get one skit on the show maybe once a week, maybe like 2 a month. But there are so many of them that you only need, 4 a week. And if you have 20 people working on them, it's just a numbers game.
So like when you say skit, is that like the type of stuff where it's like Conan O'Brien goes and visits the American Girl doll factory? Is that, or is that like what's the skit? I guess I don't know if I've ever watched like Conan O'Brien episodes all the way through, because that's on what, not TLC.
Isn't it moving? Isn't he
TBS.
switching now to?
It's
did he switch
dead.
networks? Like
it's dead.
He
It's
hasn't gotten to a new network then. Okay.
It's just stopping completely.
Yeah.
No, it was on
I didn't realize
TBS,
that.
but this is the old format. So when he was on NBC, when he was on Late Night, which came on after the Tonight Show, the format was you start off with the monologue. Mm-hmm. You go to commercial, you come back, and then there was a skit, and there were a ton of different skits. Yeah, some skits would be like on location, where Conan would go to some place and just be Conan there. But that was rare. Most of the time they would do in studio skits, and they had a lot of like pretty famous characters back in the day that would recur. The masturbating bear was one. It was just, I think Brian Kiley was in the costume, and it was just like a circus bear who wouldn't stop masturbating. That was pretty much the joke.
Nice.
And then like his handler would come out with and try to get him to stop masturbating.
That's funny. And by the way, I gotta say, Conan O'Brien is the best late night show of all time. I think, in my opinion, he's my favorite. It's cool to know the behind the scenes like that there is like this whole team propping up what this guy does, but also I like his delivery. He seems to be like a witty guy. He was my favorite late night talk show host, and it's so sad that he's ending, but I think he had a very solid career. But I was going to say, when you're talking about like the writers room, I got like a peek of that this last summer. Have you guys ever seen the Larry Sanders Show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Gary Shandling.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, it sounds kind of dumb, but like, I guess I didn't even think about, these talk shows have to have this entire cast of people writing shit for them. And so that was interesting to see. And I know that was probably a much smaller version, because in that show they had like 3 writers essentially for most of it. It's insane. You said what, 27 writers, Kevin, for Conan?
It was something like that. It was a ton. It was a lot of writers. And it seemed like some of them would rarely get anything on. Like there were, because they if a bit landed, they would repeat it. So like for a while they had this Walker Texas Ranger gag where Conan had this big crank, like a lever behind his desk. Yeah. And every time he pulled the lever, it would just play an out of context clip from Walker Texas Ranger. And that was the whole joke. That was it. It was so funny.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
but there were like 2 guys. There were 2 guys whose job it was just to watch Walker Texas Ranger all day and find the clips that they would clip out for that bit.
That's
funny.
I
swear to God. And that's why when I was there, I was like, this is a dream job. This is what you do all day? This is amazing. I can't even believe it. It's so cool.
But is it like being a video game tester where, they give you this game in beta and they're like, please break the game. Do every possible incarnation of like every touch on the keypad, every item in the game, and try to find bugs. I imagine that's amazing to play with a new game for like the first few days. But when you're on like day 51 of testing every little thing, does it become terrible?
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. Just like purposefully having to look for bugs like that would be exhausting after a while. So now it seems like they just don't even do that. They let the public find all the bugs. At least.
Yeah.
So Sven, my question on this is like, you're, like in the intro, we say that you're kind of raw funny and just do these things that are funny. Where do you want to be down the line with comedy stuff? Like, do you want to be writing a show? Do you want to be the show? Do you want to not have anything to do with a structured thing like a show? It's difficult to tell what path you'd see for yourself based on what you've put out.
Yeah, that's a good question, because, like, I don't know. Like I said, I have problems with structure, but if I got my shit together, I would like to do some more traditional media stuff at some point, whether it's, being a part of the writer's room. I think it would be so cool to just be at least like involved with that energy of like, a room of 5 people writing jokes and sketches and stuff, similar to like what you see on the Larry Sanders Show or 30 Rock, 30 Rock is a great depiction of that too, or at least maybe a fictional depiction. I don't know, because I've never been a part of one, but I wouldn't mind being like a writer for a show, whether it's like somebody else's show or my own. One thing that I really look to and I go, that is Tim Robinson's sketch show on Netflix. I Think You Should Leave. Are either of you familiar with that?
Yeah. I've seen season 1, and season 2 comes out soon.
July 6th. Yes. That is like, to me, that's like a traditional, well, I guess more traditional media version of kind of like what I'm doing and what my older brother is doing. Like Netflix paid him a set amount of money. It's like, here's the resources, pitch us. I don't know how many sketches are in every season, 50 sketches, and go make this. Because he is someone, because Tim Robinson started on SNL. I guess, I don't know if he started. That's when he got more mainstream. He was on SNL, and I saw him at first and I was like, this guy isn't like too funny. But that just probably wasn't his medium, That probably wasn't the best way for him to shine. I would love to do something like what he's doing now, where Netflix just gives him money and says like, here, go make some sketches. And he's killing it. Tim Robinson is killing it. He's making some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. So that's definitely a career path that I would like to, pursue if I'm fortunate enough to have an opportunity like that come along. But yeah, I don't know if I could continue to just be doing what I'm doing right now, like just unstructured, making stuff on YouTube, and like be super successful later on. So that's why I like the idea of, branching out and then working in traditional media, or, maybe starting a music career on the side. Who knows? I'm 21. I'm still in college for some reason. I don't really know why I'm doing this. Well, I do. I'm in college because I play on the volleyball team and I sing in a really good choir of guys who like are so passionate about music. And it's like, those are 2 experiences that I don't think I can get anywhere else in my life. So while it is kind of taking away from my creative side of what I do, I think those are just like life fulfillment things that I really want to have under my belt. But yeah, I guess the question is, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I don't know. I don't feel super stressed out about the future, because I used to get super anxious about it. So now I'm just kind of floating right now, doing stuff that I think is funny, making music that I think is good, and we'll see what opportunities come along. But I understand I also have to kind of seek out opportunities as well. So in short, I don't know. I'm just a kid. What's your background, Matt? How'd you get into like the creative industry? Kind of a tough question.
Yeah, on my end, it's been a bit of a winding road, but I have known Kevin for probably 25 years.
Wow.
And so that's, knowing him and doing some little stuff with him throughout, just the career trajectory, eventually we ended up working together. But before that, it was writing, it was editing, it was research on the historical side. It was some math-based stuff. But it all added up. And at no point did I ever want to do anything. I still don't want to do anything. It creeps me out when I talk to somebody young and they're like, I want to be a doctor. Let's say they're 18 or something like that. You don't know what being a doctor is actually like. You don't know. People who have volunteered as EMTs and things like that, they have a taste of what it is like a lot more than most people. But, you talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, I'm going into pre-law. Okay, you have no clue. And the fact that you're so certain about this, and when they say, I've wanted to be X or Y since I was 7, these are the creepiest, the super creepiest ones. If you think that you had a sense of the world and your exact role in it, when you literally were sitting there waiting for your 2 front teeth to grow back in, your judgment probably sucked.
Yeah, my younger cousin told me she wanted to be a doctor. She was in 6th grade. I said, "You don't know what a doctor is."
No, cut her off. She's
yelled
dangerous.
at her. Yeah, she was a threat to the family. So we excommunicated
That's right.
her, of course. But,
good.
Anyway.
That's the only option. Yeah. But no, it sounds like, it seems like rather that you should be 21 and have a really good sense of how things are going to go. I didn't at all. I bounced around like a pinball and did what was really good at the time. And sometimes that worked out spectacularly well. Sometimes it was a complete disaster, but I got to a place where I do what I want and I'm where I want, and my life is pretty much how I'd like it to be. That's awesome. You don't have to figure it out. And I think with the creative stuff, it will just happen and develop as you decide what you like and don't like and what you're good at and what you don't want to do. So you talking about music is a really good example. You don't want to be, you don't want to mix anything. You probably don't want to take all the time it would require to get all the knowledge to sit there and mix a thing down. So you want to avoid that. You want to work with people who do.
Exactly, yeah. It's just something.
When you were 12, did you know that? Probably not.
Something that I wasn't passionate about, I like making the music. I'm just not passionate personally about, finding how to mix the levels, finding which filters to use on my vocals and how to set up a microphone on a guitar amp so it'll sound the best, all that stuff. So and this is the thing with YouTubers and people like you guys, is you guys are very driven for what you're doing. But I don't know, at least personally, this is a question for you. Personally, if there's something like that, the mixing thing that I don't really care about, do you guys outsource that type of work or you guys do that yourselves? Are you self-taught in that way?
This is totally a Kevin question.
Oh, yeah. I would say if you can find someone who you can work with on that, I would do that. I mean, if you're really not, because the thing is that there's without a doubt somebody who is really into it and that's all that they want to do, and they're going to be a million times better at it and quicker than you will. But it depends on the thing, because definitely without a doubt there are times where maybe I don't know anybody that knows how to do this thing and I got to figure it out myself. Or maybe I can't afford to hire somebody, to do it on my behalf. So again, based upon that need of needing the thing done and wanting it done, but having no money, well, I guess I'll have to do it, So I do think it comes down a lot to that. But I'm a big believer in hiring experts, hiring people who are passionate about the thing you hate is always a great idea, I think, if you're able to make that happen. And even if you can't afford it monetarily, maybe there's something that you can do for them that they need, that, there are arrangements that you can definitely figure out a lot of the times. But for the most part, if you really hate doing a thing and you've tried learning it a lot of times and you always seem to not learn it, it might be a sign that you're just not going to learn it. Yeah. Because you would have, if you were going to.
If you identify something in the process, and like this, oh my God, have I talked about this with 7,000 YouTubers and aspiring YouTubers. If you identify something that makes your life worse or makes you feel like your life is worse, immediately you need to figure out how to do it, or figure out that you can't do it because you can't afford it, you don't have the time to learn it, whatever, and find somebody else to do it. It's like going into the doctor and having him diagnose a problem or a disease. Like immediately you confront this thing and you just like eliminate it, or it will kill you. It will murder you if you have to deal with it. And I know so many people who their output is not what it should be because of editing roadblocks or something like that. And then it goes a long time and they're bothered with their pace. They're like, I just don't produce what I think I should be producing and the volume I should be doing it, and I'm upset with myself, and it just spirals and gets worse, and all of a sudden they hate the thing overall. So yeah, if you don't like a thing, figure out how to deal with it.
That's good advice. If at first you don't succeed, give up. That's what I took away from that.
Well,
valid. That is completely valid.
I would say, if at fourth you don't succeed, there's not going to be a fifth. Yeah. So it's definitely time to move on. Yeah. I will also say, like, the shame of the matter of those problems is that, say, like, Sven, you are absolutely hilarious and you have great ideas and you're great on camera, but you are terrible at editing. We'll just keep using that. Mm. But for some reason you won't use an editor. But since you hate editing, it takes you forever to put out a video, which means that the other three things that you're really good at are suffering. And like, as somebody who loves creative people and creative projects, that sucks for me that you aren't putting out as much as you can and utilizing and maximizing the talents that you have, because of, one of the steps just not being in your wheelhouse.
That's a really good way to look at it, honestly. I mean, because that's something, like, personally, editing is not my favorite. I know that's just like the example that you were using, but I could be releasing more stuff if I had somebody to edit my videos every once in a while. And it's not like I can't do it. I don't know. It's just I'm not super motivated to. But yeah, I don't know. Motivation is weird for me.
Yeah, but imagine you shoot you write the thing, you perform the thing, you shoot the thing, and then you just send it away to a magical editing fairy who puts it together for you. And all of a sudden it's done. And the next day,
damn it.
Like a magical elf from the North Pole.
Speaking my language, Kevin. It's Christ. Anyway, I have a question. This is a total hard segue. I don't want to cut you guys off if you're talking about this, but I was talking to Matt, I think, before the podcast about my water bottle. This is something that I would like your guys' expert opinion on, because my Twitch chat gives me so much shit for this. So I drink exclusively out of, if you can't see, it's one of those Gatorade sports bottles where you squirt it in your mouth, like every basketball bench has 6 of them in a little caddy. I drink out of those. There is only
green body, orange cap.
Yep.
Yeah, it's standard.
Everybody has seen one, I'm sure. Here's the question, and this is kind of back into like the hot dog fruit type shit semantics. I fill this thing like 3 times a day because I'm drinking a lot of water. There is only ever water in this. How often do you think I should wash this water bottle?
Oh, so believe it or not, washing that exact water bottle is something I've thought a tremendous amount about.
File me under believe it. File me under believe it.
So you refill it 3 times a day. I have a fleet of 4 of those exact same bottles, and I have So every morning, I start out with 2 that have iced tea mixed in them because there's a little bit of caffeine in that.
One of these?
In one of those,
okay.
Yeah. So I do 2 teas in those, so that's 64 ounces. Then I have 1 lemonade and 1 Skittles drink because lemonade and Skittles don't have caffeine in them, so those are the afternoon things that I drink. And if it's a recording day, I do 2 Skittles instead of the lemonade because lemonade makes my throat scratchy.
Okay.
So the question is, because there are like 3 distinctly different substances in there, what happens with the bottle? Like lemonade treats the bottle differently, and so I have to wash them at different paces. But there's a little thing. Have you ever looked in the cap? There's that little
anus.
Round thing with the 4 slots. Yeah. There's this gasket in there, and that gasket is the issue. That gasket, you can put these things in the dishwasher, and it's not going to get any like of the black mold or anything out of that gasket. You have to pop it with a tiny screwdriver, and then scrub the very thin little bladder that's in it. I have a brush, like an angled brush, that's in my utensil drawer in my kitchen, specifically for this cleaning these bottles once the little bladder is popped out.
Sorry to interrupt. There's one other detail that I didn't add about my Gatorade bottle thing. Is it never touches my mouth. I only ever drink it like I'm in a timeout in a basketball game.
Yeah,
like that.
But it's creeping in there. It's creeping in there.
What's creeping
like
in
the
there?
Design of the bottle. The things you can't see. So hold on. We were talking deeply about tonsil stones.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, out of nowhere in my life, I started to have these things that I had to stab in the back of my throat. And then an hour later, you're like, oh, should I clean this thing that goes in my mouth all the time?
Matt, are you going to solve my tonsil stone plague right here? Holy shit, I'm not even kidding. If this gets rid I might switch water bottles.
Those Gatorade bottles are little green goblins of bacteria. And if you have access to a dishwasher that has a heat setting for like pure bacteria killing, I would pop them in there once a week, and I would give it a wipe and a scrub inside that orange cap once a week as well. Then you'll be okay. No problems. Tonsil stones crushed.
I mean, I'm gonna try this new regimen that you seem to be talking about. But right now, as it is, I thought, because bacteria doesn't exist if I can't see it. I thought it's only water. It's getting cycled in and out all the time. It never touches my mouth. All right, you guys might be repulsed at this. I would go like 3 months sometimes before washing
3
this.
months? And you never noticed anything inside that looked a little funny?
Because I take off the cap, and I can see that little valve thing. Yeah. And maybe it's because maybe nothing ever grew in there because it was so I filtered water out in and out of it so often. Like if I would go on a trip and I would let it sit for a few days, I come back and I wash it. But like during the pandemic, I'm using this thing. I'm in my house all the time. I'm using this thing every day, multiple times a day. I just like wouldn't wash it. And my chat was okay. Now that I have,
this reminds me of something my cat did. So I have a smoker on the porch. And I smoked like 10 pounds of wings to take to a Super Bowl party. So that was like first week of February, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was in a rush. I was in a hurry. The container that I'd marinated the wings in was disposable. I threw it in a bucket. And it was the winter, so like there was no urgency to cleaning this up. It snowed in the bucket, whatever. I completely and totally forgot about it. In May, it had filled with water from rain and everything like that, snow melting. And my cat jumped up, like put his paws on the edge of the bucket and started drinking the 3-month-old chicken juice and water. And that's basically what you're doing. What you described to me is exactly the same thing.
It's not even remotely close. Good Lord.
It's exactly the same
water.
thing. Yes.
Not chicken innards that have sat on your porch for weeks, if not months.
We established last week with Alan Pan that all water is basically dinosaur pee.
That's right.
So how do you feel about that?
I guess I could turn that around on you. It's just a matter of my dinosaur pee has been sitting in my water bottle for longer than you put it through a Brita filter.
If it took 100 million years to make, what's another 3 months?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for verbalizing my thoughts there. I was flabbergasted at the audacity of you to ask that question.
I think, Kevin, our next piece of merch after shirts here has to be a 32-ounce Create Unknown squeeze bottle.
I'll buy it.
Ooh.
I'll buy it, and I will rep it on my Twitch streams, on my YouTube. I'm serious about this, guys.
I love that idea.
You should make it.
It's not a bad
great
idea.
You should make it self-cleaning, though. I've been getting those ads for self-cleaning water bottles. Have you seen those?
What does it do? How does it
I don't
clean?
know. It's not like one of these like squeezy little bottles. It's like it looks more like a clean canteen or a hydro flask, but it's got this like filter in it or something. It looks like that you screw on, and apparently it just like cleans itself. I don't know how. I've just been seeing ads on like Snapchat for it. I don't know what the.
Okay, so Tom posted a link to Lark, LARQ, self-cleaning water bottle as seen on Shark Tank. So a lot of people must have seen this from watching the show. But yeah, it looks like a hydro flask kind of thing, but eucalyptus green. I don't know how this thing
it uses UV light.
cleans itself.
Would that work?
Is that what it does?
UV light would kill bacteria?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, UV.
Isn't that what
UV light is amazing.
Isn't that what the sun makes? Is UV light?
How much are these though? That's my question. This is the big question. And I like those Gatorade bottles because they're like $3-4. I got mine on a super sale for like $1.79. And I bet I've used each of them like 200 times. Well, that's got to be more cost effective and environmentally effective than the Lark bottle. I don't know.
Here's one thing I just thought of right now that would solve like both of our problems is why don't they make a water bottle and it's got that same unit?
Shit.
Wait, what?
No, sorry. Go on.
Why don't they make a water bottle and it's got that same unit with like that big dipstick shit in there, but the dipstick thing is a life straw. You never have to wash it. Because you can drink like cesspool water through a life straw and be fine.
Yeah, it's like how many thousands of gallons can be filtered through a life straw? It's crazy. Right? But life straws are like $10-15. The reason I just freaked out, and people in the chat did too, Tom did, so I clicked to see, well, how much is this? I'm thinking about the cost effectiveness. 17 ounces, which by the way is a weird size. So nothing happens on 17 ounces. Yeah. That's weird. But the 17-ounce Lark bottle is $95.
What? Whoa.
The 25-ounce is $118.
17 is a little more than a can of Coke.
That's right. Yeah.
Dude.
Well, that's I know why they did it, and this is the European influence on our lives. I'm glad we're a couple homespun Americans here who don't care that a half liter is 16.9 ounces. We care about 16 ounces. Yeah, but no, that's why they do 17 is so that anything that's exactly half a liter can go into it. But still, $100 for a bottle?
Dude, what's the markup on that got to be? How much do you think it costs to make one of those? That's ridiculous.
I bet it costs like $15.
Jesus.
They probably said on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
If anybody's seen the episode, they usually mention that.
Crazy.
Wow. I love the idea of making a Create Unknown water bottle, though, because everybody seems to do like a coffee mug. That's kind of like the classic merch thing is your own coffee mug. I'm going to start just like hurling coffee mugs into the road. I have so many coffee mugs.
Too many.
There's so many.
I swear to God, you make a water bottle, especially if you make it like one of these Gatorade bottles, it'll sell out.
Can we do a 32 ounce, meaning we don't respect the liter? That's built in subtly to the concept. 32 ounce bottle that is, we call it the Create Unknown piss jug. And it's endorsed by Sven Johnson. That's my dream here.
Yeah, you never need to wash it.
No.
Put my name on there. I will allow it. I'll encourage it, in fact.
Yeah. We're going to start looking into that this week.
Great.
Oh yeah, I actually know a supplier who would be able to do this. That's the crazy part. Who would be able to custom make
Piss jugs.
create unknown piss jugs. That's right. What color should it be? Because should it be green like that? Like, what's a color scheme that goes with a vessel?
Well,
like
the thing is that's nice about this Gatorade bottle is it's got that one translucent. I guess it's kind of transparent. That transparent line on the side, so you can see the level of it, like the level of water left in your bottle. You're gonna want something like that with a piss jug, because you don't want to pull a Harry from Dumb and Dumber and need a new vessel halfway through your stream. So you're gonna need to be able to monitor what you got in there. Or honestly, too, if we're talking piss jug and we want to hit all the applications of a good urination session, it's got to be transparent at least completely, so you can see the color of your piss in case you're dehydrated. Then at that point. You're pissing in your piss jug. You see it's too yellow. Then you take out the create unknown water bottle. As it's exiting, you just put more in. The water.
What if there's like a translucent, like measuring part, so that with some sort of strange measurements on the side? 'Cause then there's a function and a utility to that as well, as you can measure it as you pee. As you fill it, you're like, oh my God, new record. 14 ounces.
I wonder how many ounces of piss I could store in my balls, to be honest. That's where piss is stored, by the way. You guys knew that.
The internet taught me that.
Well, where do girls store it then?
Girls don't pee. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Jesus.
No.
Yeah.
How dare you?
No. Where does the liquid go when they drink it then? What happens?
They sweat it. Oh, they don't sweat either, though. Oof, I don't know.
Not to
They
my
just
knowledge,
giggle it away.
That's what they're giggling, just like spit. It's funny.
You mean like maybe that's, I think you've stumbled on it. They all join the salivation army.
They all join the what?
The salivation army.
Oh.
I don't know if you were doing your research, but I made a video called The Salivation Army.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. Yeah.
Good. Excited.
So can you tell people what happens in this video? It's real short.
An 8-second video. I'm ringing a bell with a bucket like the Salvation Army does. The video is titled The Salivation Army. However, somebody comes and drops some change in the bucket, and I open my mouth to say thank you, but a lot of salivation pours out of my mouth because I was the Salivation Army. That's it. And it did not perform very well.
That's basically a Twitter joke in video form.
Yeah, then it's just like Vine.
Yeah, that's a tweet.
That's Vine, dude. That's what Vine was.
Oh yeah.
I wish Vine were still around. Vines were tweets in video form, essentially.
Is there something that you wish you had? I mean, I know TikTok's out there. It's short. That's not terrible for you, right? Shorts on YouTube. That's cool. YouTube being fine for short content is nice as well. But what's your dream platform? What would fit your comedy the best?
I think, like I say, if I would have been not 14 years old when Vine was big, I think you see all these huge creators nowadays that started on Vine. I think I could have had a big following on Vine if it would have come along about 3 years later. That honestly is my dream platform, because TikTok, I don't know. I've mostly just been recycling old content on TikTok. I reformat it. And I thought that would do well on TikTok, but for some reason most of my old videos don't take off on TikTok. So I got to start thinking of new shit to make for TikTok. But then that's just another platform, because I'm doing YouTube and I'm doing Twitch and I'm doing TikTok, and then I got to make funny tweets and then make sure I don't ghost my Instagram. So what do you do?
It is a lot. It definitely is a lot. And once it becomes a burden to hit them all, it seems
takes the fun out of it.
That's not a good scenario. Yeah.
I want to be passionate about it, but also I just feel like I should be a little less lazy sometimes. So
yeah.
I'm a kid. I'm in college. I should drop out of college. That's what I should do.
Yeah. No.
Is your excuse basically a real life version of I'm baby? Yeah. Is that what I just heard?
I'm baby. I don't know.
Thank God that one died. I'm so happy that I'm baby thing finally pretty much died out. That was like 6 months of
Was that
terrorism.
a thing? That was I don't know if that's
That was a meme last year. Wasn't it last year where like I'm Baby was a thing?
thinking of the Boss Baby meme. I'm Baby.
I don't even remember.
This was just people saying I'm Baby. Maybe we follow different people. Chat's not
Maybe
backing
that was
me up
just
here,
you.
so maybe I'm just inventing.
You were the baby.
Maybe this happened in my what is it? Hypnagogia.
Yeah.
Maybe I've had it.
Yeah.
Your hippo orgasm phase or something.
Well, I know that we have questions for you, Sven, from our patrons. If Matt, if you want to kick us off on there before we let Sven go today.
Yeah, we got a couple. We're gonna machine
Shoot me
gun
some questions
at
here.
you.
I'll answer them quickly.
This one is from producer Dan. What's it like with Gus being in kind of some of the same content spheres? Is there any competition there? Is it a great thing that you've got somebody to collaborate with and talk to? Like, what's the dynamic?
Gus and I are both very competitive people, but there's not like any sort of like toxic competition between the both of us. First of all, Gus is the reason why I have my YouTube channel. He encouraged me to start my own because I was younger and I was just kind of helping him with his videos sometimes. And every once in a while that I'd give him an idea and he's like, just make your own. So my career exists because of him. He has never been anywhere close to me in size on like any of the platforms. So it's not been a matter of like, oh man, if I put in a little bit more work this week, then I could have more Twitch viewers than Gus. He's always been he's been bigger and older than me. And, I love and appreciate him so much. And he's helped me out so much with my YouTube endeavor. So there's nothing but appreciation for my older brother, Gus, I'd have to say.
Okay, well, Chinchilla has a follow-up here. When is your Gus diss track
My
coming?
Gus diss track is going to come after I beat him in the Mario Kart Double Dash All Cup Tour tournament that we're going to be hosting sometime this summer, probably. He thinks he's better than me, and that son of a bitch is so wrong. I put in hours into that game my freshman year of college. We grew up with it at our house, but I put way more time into that game, and he refuses to accept it. I'm going to kick his ass. I'll make a diss track then. That's your answer, Chinchilla.
I love that. We got a video question here, specific video. This is good. This is from Ben, also producer Ben. One of his favorite videos of yours is Put Me in Coach, and there are several reasons why this is one of his favorites, but the big one is because of your mom. He's always wondered. That sounded
Wait, Ben.
like it could go in a couple different directions.
What are you saying?
But Ben wants to know, in that video, is she actually pissed, or is she as much of a performer, a thespian as her offspring?
I can ruin the magic here. She was totally acting.
So can you describe the video real quick?
The video,
for anybody who hasn't
it's
seen
about
it.
another short video. It's about 15 seconds. It's about there is no theme. It is me with a baseball cap on, very dopey, and I got baseball pants pulled up real high, and I'm going around my house with a wiffle bat and a backwards baseball glove while my brother is playing the dun 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 dun, like the baseball organ music on a shitty synthesizer in the background. I'm going around with my wiffle bat and I'm just smashing shit in my living room, and my mom comes around the corner and goes, "So no, stop." And then Gus plays da-da-da-da-da-da, and I just smack the shit out of the silverware caddy as she's screaming, "No!" So that's the entire video. What was the question? Oh yeah, my mom was totally in on it. She's a pretty good actor.
Oh, okay.
But also, I told her what I was going to do, but I didn't tell her like how much I was going to be hitting stuff. I was hitting stuff that she didn't want me to hit too. So I'm sure there's a little added element of, wait, Sven, actually though, don't break my silverware caddy, because I did break the silverware caddy.
What is the title of that
It's called
video?
Put Me in Coach.
Put Me in Coach.
The whole
Okay.
thing, the whole joke
Great.
is like, I'm ready,
So-
coach. I got it. I got my baseball bat and my glove. Put me in.
All right.
Any video that we've talked about in this episode, we'll put the links in the description there. You have no excuse to not watch them all, because combined, they're like 58 seconds of content. Like,
Pretty much.
all of these take 5 times longer to explain than they do to watch. And that's kind of what makes them so awesome. It's just this extremely concentrated dose of funny.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, all the links will be in there. Check those out, as well as channel links and everything. Kino has a 2-parter. We have to go back to processing meats for this.
Okay.
How would you like it if you opened up a banana, I assume from the bottom, and found a hot dog inside?
Oh my God.
instead?
I was hoping somebody would ask this question. That I would call Kevin, first of all. Kevin would be the first person that I contact if this happened. And then I'd probably not eat it, sadly. But I would take a picture and then probably weep tears of joy. That would be the order of events.
The hot dog banana, that could get a lot on eBay. What was the thing that just sold? Was it like the BTS nugget that sold for like tremendous money? The chicken nugget?
What?
A couple weeks ago? Am I making this up? God, I hate this. When nobody knows, I feel like I'm inventing things. But I could have sworn that a chicken nugget that had something to do with BTS, like in the shape of the trapezoid logo or something, just got like
Who's
shocking
buying
money.
this shit, honestly? Like, what do you do with that chicken nugget? Do you frame it?
Shellac it.
You could bronze it.
Bronze
You
it.
could bronze it. That
Bronze
would be awesome. It's on the mantle. Like they're like in this big family, there are like 8 sets of baby shoes and then a chicken nugget.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah.
But would you eat it though? Would you take a bite of
Matt,
the hot dog
would you
inside?
eat the banana hot dog? Would you eat the banana that you peel open to? Well, here's the thing. Is it like a hot dog just kind of rattling around in there? Or is it like hot dog substance in the same shape and size as the banana that used to occupy the peel? Because if it were the latter, I might be inclined to take a bite. But if it's just like some dickhead just threw a hot dog in a banana somehow, I'm not touching that.
So I didn't make it up. Tom put the link in. It was an Among Us shaped chicken nugget from a BTS meal at McDonald's, and it sold for $100,000.
That's ridiculous.
Jesus.
Real quickly, I would say I'm more grossed out by like a hot dog that looks like a banana than I am just a hot dog that's in a banana
Well,
peel.
you see that, and if I were
Yeah.
to see the hot dog or the banana shaped hot dog, I would think, okay, this is intentional. This is meant to be eaten. This is a gimmick. If I see the loose dog rattling around in the peel, then I think, this is some smooth brain at the meat or banana processing facility, for all I know, who's just like, hey, let's fuck with some guy, you know? So that's why I would have my hesitancy about
All right,
that.
fair enough. I accept that analysis.
Well, what this is the second half here, and I think this is general. I don't think this has to do with inside a banana, but what's your stance on hot dog versus broth?
Okay. So I like my hot dog jokes. Hot dogs are way funnier than a brat is. But if I'm going to eat something, it's not going to be a hot dog. It's going to be a brat 9 times out of 10. Brats are way meatier. You get cheddar wurst. You get beer brats. There's variations of them, you know. One in 7 hot dogs do I eat and go, damn, that's a good hot dog. Mostly it's like, yeah, that's a hot dog.
1 in 7.
Yeah, but I keep it a tally, dude. Mostly it's
Such a specific
it
percentage.
checks the boxes when you eat a hot dog. It's like, it's what I expected, you know. Sometimes you eat a brat and it's like, whoo, you know, life-changing experience. A good cheddar wurst. I suppose you guys aren't from Wisconsin. Maybe you've never had a good cheddar wurst, but
I went to that. What's that? What is it? Irish Fest in Milwaukee?
sounds right. Or Oktoberfest?
Yeah, I went to Irish
Okay.
Fest, and it was fantastic. I mean, I'm sure they had better brat style meats at Oktoberfest, but you know, it's Milwaukee, so they're
Yeah.
gonna have them for Irish Fest. But yeah, that was amazing. That was really, really good. Now, Sven, you're too young for this. I know for a fact you're too young for this. But Kevin, did you ever have Frankenstuff hot dogs?
I don't think so. What is that?
Okay, I'm putting a commercial that Dinosaur Dracula, who, God, we need to have him on this podcast, put on YouTube. A Frankenstuff was a hot dog that was jammed full of like processed cheese, and I think they had some other flavors. And these were popular in the 80s, like the mid 80s. This commercial is from
That
1986.
sounds like it should be against the Geneva Convention.
They were a little weird, like they'd microwave and like the cheese would leak out in a way that wasn't appealing. It wasn't like, ooh, this is a good gooey meal. It's like, no, my hot dog's leaking.
I don't want to eat that.
You never had those, Kevin?
I actually do remember getting some sort of cheese-filled hot dogs when I was a kid. I do remember that. I don't recall them being named Frankenstuffs. I mean, maybe we got the generic brand, like the store Frankenstuffs.
Great value Frankenstuff. Ooh.
Yeah, Kroger's Frankenstuff.
Yeah.
Well, the last one from the patrons, Kevin might have a question for you after. This is a good one. It's from Tom. What's something this week that made you smile the most?
Ooh, something this week that made me smile the most. I have the answer. Okay. Have either of you guys watched Trailer Park Boys?
Yes.
So I haven't. I don't like, I love, okay, there's one video that my brother showed me, and I don't even like know the characters as much as somebody who's watched the show, but it wasn't even in the show. It was a clip of Ricky, I think. It's Handyman Ricky, or Rick, I don't know his name. And he was trying to hang a towel rack in the bathroom. I almost don't want to spoil it, but you should just look up Handyman Rick hangs a towel holder. Have either of you guys seen this? I don't know if it was in the show.
That was in an episode. Yeah. He was helping fix the woman's trailer. Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't really spoil it because half the video is just like watching how he reacts to the situation. But he pounds a hole in the wall on accident and he breaks a water pipe. I was pissing my pants laughing at it. If you guys, you should link that. That was the time that I smiled the most this week. Oh my God.
You should watch that whole series.
I want to. I want to.
It's very funny.
It looks like it'd be my exact type of humor, honestly.
The character of Mr. Leahy is one of like the top 5 funniest characters of all time.
He does such a good job being pretend drunk. Like just that one clip of him coming out of the trailer. Like, who's the guy that he says like, "Oh, Ricky," and just like falls down the steps. You've probably seen it in GIF format a bunch of times, but it's like, that's masterful. This is a master class in drunk acting.
It is. And the thing is yeah, you're right. Like most of the time when people are acting drunk in movies or TV shows, it's not like what it is like to be around someone who is truly drunk.
James Leahy.
But Mr. Leahy is what it's like to be around someone who is truly drunk, because it's this weird mix of cognizant and with it, but also just a disaster.
Julian.
Yeah, Julian.
Oh God. Oh my God. I can't even think about that Ricky Handyman Rick clip without breaking up. So that you should watch that video. I hope it makes you smile as much as it made me smile.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. And the actor who played him passed away.
So sad.
I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So definitely.
John starts with a D. What was it?
Yeah.
I remember. I was never a big Trailer Park guy. Like I said, I never watched the series.
It's one of my favorites. Dunsworth. That's right. John Dunsworth.
John Dunsworth. Yeah. Well, definitely recommend that, and I definitely recommend watching that whole thing, because it's totally worth it. It's one of those shows where you just pop on another one and you pop on another one, and all of a sudden you've sat there and watched 6 episodes.
The last time I did that was with It's
so
Always
funny.
Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that's just absolutely up there.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. I'm so glad that they signed for didn't they just sign for something like 4 more seasons?
Like 3 or 4 more seasons. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's slated to go until season 21, which I'm completely happy about.
Well, the other thing I wanted to recommend before we let you go is for everybody to watch Sven's video called "I Think I Watched the Wrong Movie," because if you want to have like a deeper understanding into what I think is funny, watch I Think I Watched the Wrong Movie, and it encapsulates it beautifully.
I appreciate that, Kevin.
It's a mix of just complete stupidity.
I was just doing that bit around my house with my brother Thor. I was like, let me just I was like, what's one thing that I can add to this character that just makes no sense? It's like, let's make him be sobbing. Let's make him weep.
That was my question, is why does this tear fall? Like, it makes sense until like 15 seconds in. Like, why is there a tear? And then why does he start crying?
I just thought it would be funny to have something really out of place. So that seemed to be the appropriate move on that one.
It's perfect. That's the kind of thing that I think is really funny, is when you say, why is it like this? And the answer is, I don't know.
Because it has to be. Yeah.
There is no answer. That's why it's funny. Well, listen, Sven, this was awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Thank you so much for being a consistent fan of my hot dog tweets. You don't know how much that means to me.
You don't know how much it means to me, dude.
Appreciate it.
It's like you're Pippin, or no, you're Scottie Pippen and I'm Michael Jordan. You tweet that hot dog joke, I'm coming up with that alley-oop slam dunk retweet and that like. I appreciate you guys for having me on. This was such a great time. I really like both of you guys. This has been a perfect use of the last 2 hours of my time. So.
Excellent. Well, everybody go definitely check out Sven's channel. Like Matt said, it will not be a time sink, and the ratio of time to joy that you get out of his channel is just absolutely off the charts. So definitely do that. Definitely subscribe. Follow him on TikTok and Twitter and Twitch and everywhere else. We're here every Wednesday night, if you haven't figured that out by now, and we'd love to have you join us. So just come to the Discord and also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. The shirts are on the way. And now I think, thanks to this episode, perhaps some water bottles.
I'm going to look into it. I'm seriously going to look into a 32-ounce piss jug for the community.
There you go. See? You never know what's going to happen.
I swear to God, I'll buy it. I swear to God.
All right. Until next week, we have Physics Girl coming up and hanging out with us next week. Right, yeah. So looking forward to that and getting smart after this just total disaster of a lowbrow hot dog banana piss jug conversation.
Of a podcast.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
and I enjoyed every second of it. So
me too.
Thanks,
Are you
dude.
suggesting that we can't talk to Physics Girl about diarrhea?
Diarrhea, slip and slides.
There's a lot of physics in that.
The physics of banana hot dogs? I don't know.
All right.
We'll try.
All right. This has been a pleasure. Peace out, guys.
All right. See you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We'd like to extend a huge thank you and congratulations to the Tots and Dumpster crew who save tiny little lives every single month. A tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders. Linus, our newest. Trev's Dead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. And thanks to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Mafasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria Marco, Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer Dan Yosua and producer-editor Ben Webster. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.